thank you very much for having this time and sharing it with us. Please take the floor.
Very nice to see you all. I'm very, very happy to be in communication with you. And I just thought it was an important topic, you know, knowing the difference and being able to perceive the difference between being right and feeling right about something. Well, to be successful in life, you need two things. You need to be sane, and you need to be able to solve problems relating to survival. So you need management skills, and you also need sanity. Everybody is solving problems relating to survival, and sanity is the degree to which your solutions benefit broadly, benefit the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics. Yeah, the analytical mind, per the Tech Dictionary, combines potential knowingness of the thetan with observation and knowledge to solve problems. Wisdom is the ability to use your experience and knowledge to make sensible decisions. In The Way to Happiness, Ellerich says, you really don't know if you were wise or not until you see the results of trying to apply it. Yeah, the true test of competence is the end result. To illustrate this, there's an interesting story. There was a map maker in Ohio one time who was very proud of how accurate and detailed his maps were. He was also very ambitious and wanted to be thought of as the best map maker that ever lived. To accomplish this, he had this bright idea to make a map of Ohio, one of our states in the United States, that we would be 100% scaled down to the last detail. People around him told him it was not a practical idea, but he just ignored them, and he persisted. He finally finished his map, and it was very impressive. It was a perfect map in every way. Every detail of the state was there. Every road, every creek, every hill, every tree was represented. It was even the same size as the state of Ohio. The only problem was it blocked out the sun. All the crops died. Everybody was mad at him. The only thing he could really say was it seemed like a good idea at the time. At the end of his life, he was buried in his hometown, and on his grave is engraved, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Well, that's the difference between feeling right and being right. There are three universes: your own universe, others' universe, and the physical universe. Feeling right exists in your own universe. It feels right, it is right, it feels true, so it is true. Yeah, being right occurs when your ideas are applied in the real world and they get the intended result. Feeling right is just a be. Being right is be, do, and have. LRH says that a service fact is that thing you keep saying is right when everybody around you is saying it is wrong. There's a stubborn insistence on being right, which, despite any evidence that you've created any good product. Sometimes people who operate this way will justify their failures by saying they had good intentions, and they just explain away the fact that they didn't get good results. And this explains why people keep doing the same things when it never gets a good product. This is how people can do destructive things and feel they are being right. And it explains how people believe the most unlikely things despite a lack of evidence that it is true. They are more interested in feeling right than being right. A lot of things that feel right and true to people feel that way because what they believe exists in their bank. It's a bank reality. It's something that doesn't exist in present time. It was some past time, but they believe it's real now. So what's missing and what you always need is a reality check. You can have a bright idea and maybe it's right and maybe it's not, but you don't really know until you see how it works out in practice. Yeah, you observe actual results to see if your idea was valid. LRH talks about this in the data series. You analyze a situation and you try to figure out a handle. Yeah, then you see if it really works or not. And if not, you change your idea. Well, this is how sane people operate. They are self-correcting. Yeah, they could observe what's working and what's not, and they can change their mind. Over time, they will develop successful actions that will work consistently. People who learn from their mistakes get better and better, and other people around them do better too. If you can do that. And there's another example of poor management and fixed ideas creating a big problem. Back in 1957, Mao Zedong in China wanted China to develop much more quickly than it was. One big thing he wanted was a lot more steel production. Throughout the whole country, people built these furnaces in their backyards. Every village had a quota. So they ended up melting their farm tools and cooking pots, but they never ended up with any usable metal. Also, farmers were taken off of farms in order to help with steel production. At the same time, Mao Zedong wanted to increase crops. So he had a bright idea. A study showed that sparrows ate a lot of crops. So Mao Zedong declared war on sparrows. In Beijing alone, 3 million people were banging pots. The sparrows couldn't sleep and fell out of the trees and died. Teenage girls were taught how to fire rifles in order to kill sparrows. In 1 year, the sparrow population completely crashed. Sparrows eat locusts. So there was no sparrows, so you had a great big increase in locusts. The locusts were eating all the crops that were left. Also, the farmers were given demands for more production demanded. So they tried some techniques that had never been tried before, and those techniques failed. Because everybody was afraid to report what was really going on, the leaders thought that there was a lot of crops and demanded that villages give their crops over to the government. So the farmers were just saying what people wanted to hear, but they weren't really, there was a real shortage of food. So there was even more demands, and the farmers had to have even higher production. And the end result was that there was a lot of protests, and then the protests were suppressed by violence. There was massive famine, and between 1959 and 1961, 30 million people died of hunger. And the government, when asked about it, said that it was a natural disaster and there was nothing they could do about it. That illustrates the idea of continuing to double down on a bad idea. Kill all the sparrows is a bad idea. So instead of changing course and trying something more workable, they just took it to the dead end. You can see how management sometimes really goes bad. In The Way to Happiness, LRH says that life is not about right and wrong. Life is about developing better understandings and better ways of doing things. People who can manage well can get good products, and everybody benefits. And this is true whether it's managing yourself or managing a group. So rightness is not about feeling right. Rightness of action results in orderly progress towards the creation of a successful, functioning, and productive environment. This is how you can produce a good environment around you and for other people, by following these ideas. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. If Mikhail said we would open up for questions, which we can do that.
Okay, there is a thank you note. Thank you very much, Trey. This information is really refreshing and it just shakes up the mind. It makes me want to review a whole review of my mind and get free of fixed ideas to become more flexible and up to date in present time for the better life.
Great. There's a really great bulletin called You Can Be Right, which talks about some of these things and some great LRH data in it.
Okay, a question. Where on the bridge fixed ideas get handled?
On grade 4, service facts and computations are handled at that point. That's a thorough handle. That's a thorough handle. But you can handle a computation anytime by applying You Can Be Right. Like if somebody says, you know, I invalidate myself all the time, that's a fixed idea or a fixed course of action based on a fixed idea. So it's also illogical. So what you can do with that is you can ask the person, why is it necessary to invalidate yourself? In their mind, it is necessary or they wouldn't do it. Their reasoning is hidden to them because it's partly reactive. So you ask, like, how does invalidating yourself help you? They might say, well, if I invalidate myself, then other people won't invalidate me. So you can ask, how does invalidating yourself keep people from invalidating you? Or somebody might say, people aren't mad at me if I'm invalidating myself. They wouldn't get mad at me. So you can ask, how does invalidating yourself keep you safe? You get the person to take the viewpoint that what they are doing is the right thing to do. And that works because in their mind, it is the right thing to do. So you have to get the viewpoint that it's a good idea and then explain how it's a good idea in order to get to the bottom of it. So all that information is in You Can Be Right bulletin, and it's very usable. Often people they laugh a lot when they finally get to it. It's like, oh yeah, killing myself keeps me safe. Any other questions?
Oh, it's great that you can handle this. It's great that you can handle this with a teenager before grade 4. I mean, what a great bulletin.
Yeah, you can do it on life repair.
We have 2 people who are trying to take a joint or decision. They're taking a decision together regarding some situation, and everybody feels right, but their points of view are opposite, and both don't want to be wrong. How can this situation be handled? Because the opinion of one person invalidates the opinion of the other.
Well, you have to find something more basic they both agree on. Usually people agree on goals, but they don't agree on policy. You know, like in a couple, like in a marriage, they both want to be secure financially. And the husband wants to invest money. The wife wants to not invest money to save money. So, you know, that can be that reduces the conflict. And usually people can work out a compromise. You can also have a more basic agreement of, well, we'll see what LRH policy says. Yeah, maybe that could be agreed on too.
A question: why did you choose this subject of lecture? Why rightness?
Well, it's something that it applies to everybody, and like a French philosopher once said, the most disappointing thing about life is that everybody has their reasons. One thing about disagreements is that it depends on how basic it is. Yeah, if basic goals are in conflict, then it's an unsolvable problem. So that's why if you can get a basic agreement, then you can resolve problems. If there is no basic agreement, there's no solution.
Okay, question. How can this data about rightness be applied to humanity itself? And can they?
can be applied to what?
To force dynamic, the humanity.
First dynamic?
Fourth
Fourth
dynamic, four, yeah.
Well, diplomats try to do that by using PR tech and negotiation to find common interests. When the comm cycle is in, things don't escalate. When comm lines are cut, it can result in some bad conflict. Or if a country has a leader who has bad intentions, suppressive intentions, you can isolate them.
Them, you mean the leader? Trey, when you say you can isolate them, you mean who or what to isolate?
Well, you know, like you can isolate a country if they're
Yes,
threatening people and that kind of thing. You can isolate them economically. Yeah, everybody wants to survive, so you have to find a way for that to be beneficial to everybody.
Looks like we don't have any more questions. So now, thank you from all.
Thank you very much.
Спасибо, спасибо.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. I'm really glad to see all of you.